Hi, welcome to the Lisa Saunders Show. Today I have a co-host with me, Dr. Joanne Z. Moore, the publisher of the new lifestyle magazine Pathfinder, a companion guide for the widower's journey. She's been on with me a couple times before. As a widow herself, Dr. Moore believes it's important for those who are widowed to still cook, even if it's just for yourself, or to learn how to cook if it was your spouse who had done all the cooking in your marriage. To help us cover that topic, I'm so excited to introduce you to the internationally recognized French chef, Jacques Pépin of Madison, Connecticut, who I first met over the phone this year when I interviewed him for an article I was doing on Julia Child, who was a friend of his and also a one-time TV co-host, because I wanted to talk about her widow years, what she did with them. You'll find that article in the November-December issue of Pathfinder. Last fall, Pépin filmed his 14th PBS TV cooking series, Jacques Pépin, Heart and Soul, at KQED in San Francisco, California. The series is scheduled to air this fall in time for Pépin's 80th birthday. A companion cookbook to the series will be released in early October 2015. Pépin was born in France. His love for cooking developed when, as a child, he helped his parents in their restaurant. He ultimately served as personal chef to 3 French heads of state, including Charles de Gaulle. After moving to the United States in 1959, Pépin first worked at a historic French restaurant in New York City. He later became Director of Research and New Development for Howard Johnson's and was charged with developing a line of food for the restaurant chain. At the same time, he earned his bachelor's degree, then a master's in 18th century French literature at Columbia University. Pépin starred in a PBS series with Julia Child called Julia and Jacques Cooking at Home. The 22-episode series won an Emmy Award and a James Baird Foundation Award in 2001. A former columnist for the New York Times, Pépin is a contributing editor to Food and Wine magazine. He was awarded France's highest civilian honor, the Legion of Honor Medal, in 2004. Pépin continues to teach at Boston University and is a dean of special programs at the International Culinary Center in New York City. Now, I don't usually read people's bio, but that's just knocked me over. Welcome. Thank you so much for driving, an hour to
Thank you.
To
No, it's not that far, like 40 minutes. I thought it was farther. Someone introduced me last week telling that man was chef to 3 French presidents, and the 3 of them are dead.
So that made you feel better.
All right. Good.
And you're going to go have dinner in Mystic tonight?
Absolutely.
That's
We're going to the oyster restaurant there.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, that will be fun. How many's in your party? How many are you going?
Just my wife and my friend Tom and his wife Christine and our 2 dogs.
And I know that's wonderful.
Paco and Gaston. Yeah, right.
What are their names?
Paco and Gaston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, this was so perfect. I was so thrilled that I was able to interview you over the phone to talk about Julia Child. And I didn't realize you weren't just her TV co-host, that you were friends and you would go to their house and have dinner. You and she would cook and, right? And Paul would make the drinks and take photographs.
Sure. I mean, I met Julia in 1960. So that's a long, long time ago.
Yes.
And she had never at that time published a book, and she never done television. That time it didn't exist yet. And since she never was really the food editor or food writer for a magazine newspaper, so she was pretty unknown. In fact, she just came from France not that long before that, and we spoke, if I remember, in French. Our first meeting, your French was better than my English.
Oh, really?
Right.
That's funny, yeah.
So I stayed with her, and we taught at BU for many, many years also together. So yes, we were very friends.
And I noticed you have other photographers, and you also do some of the artwork. I saw one of your cookbooks had your artwork all over. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I do a fair amount of painting and artwork. In fact, I have a new website with my painting now. So
okay, we might as well say what it is since we're talking about it. JacquesPépinArt.com.
Right.
So they can people can check that out. Now, you just came off doing a cruise, cooking or teaching cooking or speaking?
Yeah, I am culinary director of Oceania Cruise Line. So I do a couple of cruises a year with my wife, and I do demonstration I was there with my daughter, my granddaughter,
Oh, how nice.
my son-in-law.
Uh-huh.
So Claudine, my daughter, and my granddaughter, Shari, gave demonstration with me. I gave a lecture. And I get involved with the chef a little bit too.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you said a lot of the passengers were widowed.
Yes, a fair amount. Those are extraordinary. You can afford it, an extraordinary way of spending your time because, we used to travel. I used to take group from Boston University. And when you have a bus and you change hotel room every 3 or 4 days, visiting different country, it is pretty difficult, tiring. But they're on a boat, on a ship like this. You go, you're in Rome. Fine, you come back at night, you have your room and you have your restaurant. You don't carry any luggage. The day after you're in Barcelona, the day after in Monte Carlo, and we're in Marseille, and we're in Ibiza, in Malaga, Spain. So that's a great way of seeing the world, no question.
Now, how about for the widowed that are at home cooking? You, Joanne, you believe it's important for people to keep cooking, right?
Food is so important.
Yes.
It
is for me.
It is. As a physical therapist, I focus on what's good for us in terms of our health, nutrition, for exercise, and for function. But food is so much more than that.
Food.
The name of your book is, the new book is
Heart and Soul. Yes, right.
Heart and Soul, and that's exactly what food is.
Yeah.
But when you're living alone and on a tight budget, perhaps, as many of us are, we still want to make our meal special.
Sure.
It's 3 times a day, and I know a lot of times I just cook an omelet and sit in front of the TV.
Omelet is great. Fantastic.
Oh, good. I'm on the right track. We tend to get into a routine where we eat the same things because it's easiest. And, and especially if our late spouse was the person who did the cooking most of the time in the family, sometimes the person's left with not a large repertoire of menu options.
Right. That's true.
And so that's what I really love about this book, The Simple and Healthy book, because you explain so well how to make each recipe. You're very detailed in the mechanics of putting the food together.
If you eat that food, you'll die in good health.
We will die in really good health. And it tends to have ingredients that I already have in the kitchen.
Good. That's one point, certainly. I've been married 40 years, and I don't remember one night that my wife and I didn't, sit down, cook dinner. We sit down like last night and share the news of the day and share a bottle of wine, sometime two. But
that's the good thing about eating at home, right?
Yeah, if you don't know how to cook, for me, it's so much part of my life, so much part of my youth, so much part of who I am. You already have a friend who cook, hopefully. So if you have a friend who cook, you say, can I come? I'll bring a bottle of wine. I'll come here earlier. Can I sit down and talk and do? And, that's one way. Another way, certainly to use the supermarket. I did 2 books called Fast Food My Way. And what I did, I do what you do in a professional kitchen. In a professional kitchen, you have the prep cook who comes. He bone out the fish, he bone out the chicken, he slice the mushroom, he wash the salad, he chop the shallots and so forth. When you come, everything is ready for me. So with a minimum amount of time, 1-2 minutes, I can do a fish dish because the fish is ready, some shallots are ready, some mushroom, a dash of wine, bring it to a bowl, cook it fine. Use the supermarket in the same way. I go to the supermarket, you go to the deli counter, even there, I have like 8 different types of olives, So I take a bowl, I choose my olive, little bowl of mozzarella cheese, some dry tomato too. I'm making a salad there. Then I get home, I put a bit of olive oil on top, I have some basil, I buy a package of sliced ham. I took a slice of ham to hang above like a martini glass. You fill it up with that salad, you have beautiful first course. Fine, Another thing we do, take a chicken, a roast chicken, fresh, you can take some shear to cut it, or even if you massacre it a little bit, doesn't matter. You have pre-washed salad in the supermarket now. You can take your salad on a big tray, you have the juice of that chicken, You mix some olive oil in there, a bit of vinegar to do a great sauce. You pour all of that on your salad and your chicken cut into pieces. You have a big tray of that, and it's great. And it's good reheated the day
That
after
sounds really
or cold.
simple.
You know, there is many things you can do like that. The supermarket have never been as good as they are today with food halfway done for you. You have, skinless, boneless breast of chicken. You have pre-washed spinach, and you have a non-stick pan. You put it in there. In those shows, I did 4 dishes, and I did it sometimes with the package of the supermarket to do right there in 30 minutes, Simple dessert with fruit and all that. Follow the season. Go to market, to farm stand, where you have beautiful tomato that time of the year now. And, if you have a beautiful tomato, you have a bit of olive oil, a bit of coarse salt on top of it. There is nothing better than that. I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. Anyone can do that,
Now, if their spouse did all the cooking, what do you recommend for the person who's just suddenly has to learn how to cook and they feel embarrassed to ask somebody at 70 years old, how do you cook? What do I need?
As I said, you have a friend, you bring a bottle of wine, you start this way, you start this way and say, how do you do that? Oh, that's great. I mean, frankly, you take a chicken, you put salt on top, put it into the oven at 400 degrees for an hour without doing anything, and it's going to be pretty good. Right. Without any basting or anything. Or, as I say, buy a chicken and start this way, small, couple of tomato and by yourself, and you do enjoy it. Put the news on, to get a nice salad, set up the table. Right. I tend to eat on top of the sink if I'm by myself, but my wife will set up the table for herself, put candle on the table even. She already does that, so she has...
Who does most of the cooking, you or your wife, Gloria?
Well, I do a lot of cooking. I'm always doing a recipe or doing one thing or another, but she's a very good cook too. So sometimes certainly she cooked. And it's not like when I come in, she said, darling, what do you think? She usually said, don't touch anything.
Do you argue if you're preparing something together?
No, not really. No, I've been married 40 years, so if we don't agree on something, we do what she wants. But when we agree, we do what I want.
Are there any cookbooks? Because you have so many, you have 27 cookbooks, right?
Right.
Is there anyone in particular for the person who's never cooked and is
certainly the fast food my way? I have two, fast food my way and more fast food my way. I mean, I give you a lot of tips like that from the supermarket to pick up a thing. With a little transformation, it becomes your own, and you put it there. Sometimes just putting it in a nice bowl, a bit of olive oil on top, that's it.
Because I was reading in one of them, it must have been the fast food one, you talk about how you don't walk in and then take your coat off and then boil water. You walk in the door, start boiling water, then you take your coat off. I mean, just
when I was in a restaurant, or when you have to cook at home, or if you do those competition on television, first thing you do, you start boiling water. You don't know what's going to be with it, but you start
So just like in movies, when somebody's about to have a baby in the house, somebody's always boiling water for some reason. A chef is the same way. You have to start that water.
No, I mean, in your refrigerator, I always have eggs. I love eggs. And eggs now, there is no excuse not to have good quality, organic eggs. I have a little lady in Madison there where I go get my eggs. She has free chicken and free ranch chicken. And there is nothing better than an egg with a little piece of butter or some olive oil, some herb from the garden. I mean, you have many ways of doing it. Or then next time you slice tomato with it, some scallion, put the egg on top to do a frittata, or a tortilla, the Spanish cold, a bit of olive oil on top. Next time you slice a tomato in it, you can do many variations.
Now, you said something funny about the souffle, how it makes you. Joanne asked you before the show, is there anything that's been botched up on TV? And you said no, but the souffle. What was the word you used? Nervous.
Well, sometimes it goes. Yeah, there is already a bit of suspense with the souffle.
Suspense. That's what suspense.
But I've done a souffle where. I say, okay, let it go down. Now it starts collapsing. I say, let it go. Then I turn it upside down, unmold it, and serve it in another way. With a tomato sauce or something on top.
Now, souffle, that's not simple enough for the beginning cook, right? Do you need to work up to that?
Yeah, I have a book called The Apprentice, The Story of My Life. So it's not a book of recipe, but I have one recipe per chapter. And I gave the souffle of my mother when my mother was she had a restaurant all her life, but when she first married, she didn't know how to cook too well. And my mother died last year. She was 99 and a half. She almost ate it to 100.
Wow.
But in any case, she knew my father loved souffle, cheese souffle. So she knew how to do a white sauce, at least, a bit of butter, some flour, and milk to do a bechamel or white sauce. And she knew you put eggs in it. She didn't know you had to separate the egg, beat the egg white, or whatever. So she never separated the egg. She breaks the egg like for an omelette. She mixes it with her white sauce, a lot of cheese in the oven, and it works. And I have that. And you can do it a day ahead, put it into the oven. So I have that so you can do that type of souffle, yeah? Very easy.
Well, it sounds like you're a very social cook. Like, would that be a good thing for the widow to do?
Well, one thing that you said that sparked my interest was gathering things at the grocery store or a farmer's market.
Right.
Because that's a place where you can also talk to the other shoppers.
Right.
And it's a social event for you when you go out.
Right.
You can talk to somebody buying something and go, "Ooh, what do you do with that? How do you prepare it?"
Exactly.
And before you know it, you've made a friend, and they're happy to tell you.
Absolutely. And when you're a widow or a widower, try to have a friend and cook together. It's easier. You'll be better in an area. Say, well, I'll do the dishes. I don't know how to do that. You do it. You show it to me. And, first you have a conversation. It's a social event. You share the food, and the sharing is very, very important.
Yeah.
I
could see starting a social group.
You cannot cook indifferently. So you put a lot of yourself in your cooking, a lot of love. So if you cook with someone, then it does help. It become a social thing.
It should be social.
Yeah.
And any kind of a group meal, bringing a potluck to a church supper or something like that, where you bring and you share with others and they share with you. And sharing recipes. We put recipes in our magazine every month that we think people could manage.
Good.
So,
do you cook for all your friends, or do both of you?
Last Sunday we had 50 people at the house.
Oh my
we played boule, which is a French game called pétanque, and we are a bunch of us, at least 7 of us, who have a boule court. We play. So at least we do 7 big parties during the summer, and it was our turn. So we did that, 50 people, and with a big meal. Yeah,
and so you, being you, wouldn't probably ever dare dream of bringing in a frozen lasagna.
No one brings food. I had my daughter giving me, my son-in-law, with a chef too, and my friend Jean-Claude, that I mentioned I was with, Gloria, of course, my wife, and so we start cooking several days ahead, and we had a big meal. It was fun.
And what would your menu be for such a party?
We have 7 hors d'oeuvres that we pass around to start with, from caviar with, the caviar in little crab shell that the Vietnamese do. I mean, we had some little choux, like profiterole stuffed with cheese, other one which were stuffed with shrimp that we cooked. We had, what else? I mean, we had a lot of different types of orders, some pâté of pheasant. We some salami that my wife did. All of those were ordered, and then after that we had a big tomato salad. I had a big dish of beans, white beans with spinach in it, a lot of onion, garlic, herbs, and I had 3 shoulder of veal, that big.
Wow.
Well, like 50 pounds of meat that I cooked into a cotachina, one of those big boxes where you put them inside and the coal is on top. So that kind of very...
wow.
And then I had my friend Jacques Torres, with maybe the greatest chocolatier pastry chef in the U.S., came from New York, and he brought cases of not only chocolate and different type of cake and tart and ice cream, and it was enough to eat for 100
How do you
people.
keep your weight down? Because food's such a central part of your life.
I'm squeezed in. When I take my pants at night, I look like James Beard.
I wish that could work.
You must have, because I read that you really even though you have desserts in your cookbooks, you said mostly at night you'll just have fresh fruit.
No fruit. Right? We have cheese. We're not big on dessert, but I am too fat. I mean, I'm not too fat, but I'm a bit short for my weight. That is, if I were 6 foot tall, I'd be about perfect.
Oh.
I'm 5'8".
No, you look great. Like, I just don't know how people keep their weight down that love to cook.
No, but we do. I mean, for me, the most important thing, fresh food, follow the season. when that's in season, fun, like tomato and stuff like that. We have a lot of stuff in the garden. You follow and avoid processed food, at all costs.
That's a key?
I mean, you don't have to torture yourself. If you do that, you will eat, healthy and of course, there's people who tend to put more weight than other people, but on the whole, nothing is wrong in my book. But processed food, that type of thing, we don't eat. You don't know what it is. You don't even know how to read all of you see those things,
right.
and it's terrible. And for kids, it's terrible. And now it's even worse because the kid now choose those processed food by color. Say, I want the blue one or the red one. Can you imagine how far you are from the food? You open it, you don't know what it is, what it's made of.
Right.
Oh, that's terrible.
Now, you said you eat free-range eggs. I do as well, only because I feel sorry for the chicken. I think they're having a better life if they're just walking around.
Egg is much better. There is no comparison.
There's a difference in the taste?
I mean, the lecithin, even in health, the lecithin in the egg yolk, much more lecithin, much less fat in it. The egg white is much higher in albumin. If you build a souffle or do a thing, it will hold better. I mean,
really?
And
so there's really a difference.
The taste is quite different. I mean, there is no comparison.
I wonder why.
And the chicken is happy because the chicken is happy.
You think? So I guess that chicken is releasing, I don't know, happy hormones. I don't know what chickens release.
No, they knew. They even did. They put chicken in room as big as this one. There is like 2,000 chicken. I mean, and they are territorial, so they cut their beak, blind them to prevent them from fighting. And the noise is atrocious. They realize that by putting acoustic tile, they lower the cholesterol in the eggs by 20%. Just the noise factor. So the chicken are stressed. In addition, a chicken should do 1 egg a day. They put light on top of them because the hormonal system of the chicken works with light when you early in the morning, going to bed at night. So by putting that, they end up with 1.5, sometimes 2 eggs a day. So, it's horrible. Chicken is totally contrived. And there is no reason for that. I buy 12 eggs from a farmer next to me, a little lady from Jamaica, she was running chicken there and too. Pay $4 a dozen. How much is that an egg? It's like 30 cents an egg, and you pay $2 for one in the supermarket. That's not worth it.
So it's not necessarily very expensive to buy good quality food if you just are smart about it.
Right.
Do you have any advice for buying meat or?
Well, meat, the supermarket have a fair amount of very good meat. Now, it's more expensive when you buy. I mean, I try to buy, organic chicken as well. So forth. It's not that more expensive. And if you know what to do with a chicken, you can do 2 or 3 meals out of it. Right. You get a lot. I never throw anything out.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit.
Fat to come out of the chicken, I saute potato with it. First, it's a monounsaturated fat. It's much better than other fat for you. It makes it very crispy. The skin I use to make crackling sometime in salad. Then you use the 2 legs to do a stock. I mean, I did for years, I had a column in the New York Times called The Purposeful Cook, and I did a book called Cuisine Économique. How to cook for a party of 6, 8 people for less than $5 at the time, or whatever it was. But I can still do it for almost no money at all. People don't know what to use. I can go to a supermarket. I go to like Ferraro in New Haven. There I can get pig's feet or any type of, chicken carcass, chicken neck too. You pay like 50, 60 cents, 80 cents, $1.25, whatever, for a package of chicken neck. Well, I put a pound of beans in it, white beans, a carrot, an onion, a thing like that. I mean, for like maybe $4, $5, I have a big dish of, I pick the meat of the bone to add it to the meat, or you just suck on the bone. There is many things like that you can do if you...
Is that recipe, those economical recipes, in any particular of your...
Well, I had that book called Cuisine Économique. It was for that, but very often in other book, I have very inexpensive food. I mean, I was born during the war, and my mother was a very miserly cook, so I have inherited this. I never throw anything out, and I remember when I first got married, I had that argument with my wife. I went on the road for a couple of days, and then I came home and I said, why didn't you use that? We had that left. What did you do? You bought something else. Why did you do? We had those stupid arguments with that. Now when I came home, everything is clean. I don't know what she does.
Well, I've learned to use up my food and never get rid of leftovers, especially living here. Since I've lived here for 5 years, we've had 2 hurricanes and lost power twice for a week. And so I'm annoyed that I didn't just keep using my leftovers when I could, and I, you know what I mean, it's emptying out my freezer. Do you have frozen food?
Yes.
Okay.
The biggest thing is soup. I do a soup. I mean, yesterday I did a soup, because I had 2 zucchini out of the garden. I had a couple of things. The salad was getting wilted in the refrigerator. I forget what I had. Like, I had some carrots, that we had over the weekend when we did that thing. We were getting dry too. I put all of that with water, salt, that's it.
Yeah,
emulsify it. And I had some sour cream left over, and I add that to it. I mean, I look in my refrigerator. I empty the refrigerator all the time. Nothing goes to the garbage.
Mm-hmm. And you can freeze the soup if you don't need it
Absolutely.
right away.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for food to go bad in the refrigerator.
You mentioned something about grits. You threw grit because you're boiling the water. I'm reading about you. You're hanging up your coat while the water's boiling, and you're throwing in grits or something.
Yeah,
what
very
does that
often.
do for
I mean, no, you do a soup. You'll say, "Well, I'm doing a soup takes 4 hours." No, if you have one of those, if you have some chicken stock that you can buy, or even one of those bouillon cube, the chicken. There's some good one now on the market, which are done naturally. Water. Bring that to a bowl. If I have a piece of onion, a piece of zucchini, a piece of anything, I chop it, or I put it on the grater, So by the time it comes back to a boil in there, it's basically cooked. And what do I do in it? I put a little handful of vermicelli, or some couscous, or some oatmeal, or some alphabet, and it cook 1-2 minutes. Less than 10 minutes, my soup is cooked. The longest thing is to bring that water to a boil. That's what I say.
And so certainly that's.
And then leftover bread. Never throw any piece leftover bread. You do croton with it. You do things. You put it in the soup. My mother used to do a soup, just some water and some herb from the garden. We had sliced old bread. And the herb, she poured the boiling water on top of it, and she put some Gruyere cheese or whatever on top, a bit of olive oil, and we had a soup.
Oh, that's great. Now, we have a little less than 2 minutes. I don't know if you want to talk about the retreat in Madison, his hometown, or because you work there. Or you have a couple minutes.
We'll be having a retreat for people who have lost a spouse and who are rebuilding their lives.
At the Mercy Center.
That'll be at the Mercy Center, and people can go onto our website and get more information about that. But I'm just so excited to have spent this time with you because food is so important.
Food brings people
together. For quality
together,
of life.
So absolutely. I mean, everyone is the same around the table. There is no distinction. There is no political implication, racial implication, gender implication in food. It brings people together.
Even on a budget, you can eat really well.
On a budget, I can do, I was listening to the mayor, I think, of whatever town, and he said, I'm doing like my people who have no money. I have to live on $5 a day or $4 a day. He said, if you give me $5 a day, a family of 4, that's $20, you'll eat like a king. I mean, without any question.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm really thrilled that you took the time to do that.
Thank you very much.
You were a big help. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Lisa Saunders Show, and I will see you next week.